All right, Sam, man. Jared Sandler on the D&M Leasing Hotline. What has jumped out early with the baseball?
Well, it's obviously super early, and so you're not really getting extended looks from anyone. But I will say I liked what I saw from Mark Church. He is not a name people have talked about a ton, but a young reliever who could very well break camp with this team. Someone who, not this year maybe right away, but eventually could become a power arm late in the game. Liked what I saw from Zach Kent, who will get a little more extended look from it. And again, not a big name, but he's someone who could be really important to this team with the lack of starting pitching depth that we've talked about, while the three big names, DeGrom, Malley, and Scherzer, are on the shelf. And then in a similar vein, welcome back to the Rangers, Adrian Sampson. He's a really interesting one. I feel like Adrian Sampson can be this year's Travis Jankowski. Jankowski, obviously an outfielder, Sampson a pitcher, but a guy who the Rangers signed, there was almost no needle movement when he was signed, but someone who could end up sneakily playing a big role. So Sampson missed last year with a knee injury. He went to Korea after his time with the Rangers, then pitched for the Cubs and pitched well. He's just been hurt. He's healthy, and he's a veteran. Here's why I think he can be valuable. He's a veteran who, if he has a really good camp, he'll make the team. If he has a meh camp, then he probably won't have a ton of options with major league clubs. I don't know if he's got an opt-out. A lot of veterans do. But let's just say that he does, and he has an okay camp. He's probably not going to exercise that opt-out, and he'll go to AAA, and the Rangers would have some starting pitching depth. They desperately need some reliable depth, and he looked really good yesterday, and he could really be a big key in that regard.
Was yesterday a little Evan Carter scare with what took place? Yeah,
a little bit. Whenever a guy gets hit, hand, wrist, and in Evan's case, forearm area, you just never know. I mean, the bones there are pretty fragile. I felt better about it when he was jogging up to first base, and it looked like he was going to stay in the game. And then it almost seemed like, hey, dude, it's a spring training game. Just let's go get checked. No big deal. Sometimes if it's bad, especially in a spring training game, these guys go right from the batter's box to the dugout, like if they know something's wrong. So I felt good about it, and then when the x-rays confirmed there was no break, definitely. Now, I will tell you guys, that's a freak thing, and you're never going to fault a hitter for that. However, if you look at Evan Carter's professional sample size, obviously don't know about high school, and it really doesn't matter, but as a pro, so minor leagues and major leagues, when facing a lefty, he gets hit by pitches at a really high percentage. Now, if you're getting hit on your tush, that's fine. If you're getting hit, in a meaty part of your body, that's fine. But you run the risk when you're getting hit that much of getting hurt. And so, I think one thing that it feels weird to say this, that he needs to improve upon, and I think he will with more experience, is just getting out of the way sometimes when he's facing a lefty and just seeing and recognizing what's coming so that he can avoid any sort of issue and obviously do his best to try and stay healthy.
Jared Sandler joins us here at 105 through the Fan. To the best of your knowledge, has the team stayed in contact with Jordan Montgomery? Have they, what's the latest on maybe trying to get him signed?
Yeah, I think, guys, that the Rangers have absolutely stayed in contact with him. And while I don't think, and I've shared this with you guys before, I don't think there's this universal consensus feeling internally like we absolutely need this guy. We absolutely want to pay him that money. I think that the Rangers, when push comes to shove, would. The sense I get is that they are unsure financially what things might look like over the next couple years with the TV situation, not just this year, but what happens after. And they don't want to overcommit themselves and then be in a really bad spot next year or the year after that. So I'm not smart enough to really know all the dollars and cents of this from a business standpoint. And I'm not sure exactly what those conversations are. But I think if Ray Davis and the powers that be called Chris Young today and said, hey, all right, green light, My guess is Jordan Montgomery would be a Ranger. I'm not saying that that's the only reason he's not, but I'm using Ray Davis just because he is the most notable name from the ownership group. I don't know that it's necessarily Ray. I'm just in general saying I think that there is an idea that perhaps they need to be a little more conservative financially with the unknown of what's to come here in the next couple of years, on top of the fact that they don't internally feel like he is a no-brainer. But I think, like I said, ultimately he would be welcome back and people would be very excited to have him.
Kevin Millar told us last week the hitter needs like 35 at-bats, which is around like 10 games before they're ready. So when would they need to get him in to feel comfortable that he can go for opening day or that opening series?
I honestly think, now, and I think maybe for some teams you're past that, just because if you're going to pay a guy whatever sort of money that Jordan Montgomery, we think is going to get, you're not going to rush him, and you'd love for him to be ready his first turn in the rotation, but if he misses a turn because you're playing it safe, then not a big deal. We're not talking about him missing a lot of time, whether it's with the Rangers or anyone else, but I'd say about now. And that's a part of the shame of, this whole situation for Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery. It's just not good for baseball. And it's not good because, from a team standpoint, these are big names. And, when the Rangers signed Seager and Simeon, they had so much time to prepare marketing stuff and get fans excited for, hey, we just signed Marcus Simeon and Corey Seager. And, these guys, that these guys are on your team. You can get fired up, season ticket sales, stuff like that. You can't do that at this point. It's just the window is passed, and then for these players individually, the opportunity for them to, get ready, the pitchers specifically, it just kind of stinks. It's not good for the sport. I don't know how to rectify it, but, I'm curious to see after the Bellinger contract. And RJ, I heard you say that you thought it was a good contract. I think that Scott Boras has egg on his face after that deal.
Really?
Because Cody Bellinger was rumored to, be a $175+ million guy. And I'm not sitting here saying that $30 million this year and $30 million next year is anything to scoff at. We'd all take that in a heartbeat. But there's a lot of folks think that he's due for a regression. Let's say he gets hurt. That's a lot of guaranteed money that he's not going to get. Now, yeah, if he has a big year, he can opt out and then get that money. But it's just another year in which he's got to do something that, frankly, he really hadn't done. He's a different hitter than he was when he won his MVP. It's not about yes, they did get the ability to re-enter the market, but after the year Cody Bellinger had as a player, you want to be able to cash in a big way, and he wasn't able to. And I'm curious to see what these other contracts look like for Montgomery and Snell. And Chapman, Matt Chapman as well, for that matter.
Talking with Jared Sandler here on 105 through the Fan. Jared, the question about Wyatt Langford, his readiness to be with the major league club right out of camp. How are you looking at, the decision of Wyatt Langford making the opening day roster?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this, and I'll tell you this. I want to get this out of the way. So Wyatt Langford doesn't have a hit in 2 games. He could be 7 for 7,
Bust.
And I don't know that my opinion would totally change. But so I said it has nothing to do with his first 2 games. I think my gut is saying let's have him start in AAA and let him kick some butt there, play every day as an outfielder, and I think that part of it is key. Give him time to continue to grow in left field, and the minute there's a need, the minute someone gets hurt, then he gets called up. And the other part of this is Justin Foscue. You really can't justify both of them on the roster. It's tough to have Justin Foscue on your bench because he really is a DH only. He's not someone with position versatility. He's not the type of guy that you would carry on your bench. And you're obviously not going to have Wyatt Langford up here to be on your bench. One of those guys is going to be the primary DH, and the other guy is not going to be with the big league club. I know that there's a lot of excitement around Wyatt Langford, but there's one guy who has done it and done it over a larger sample in the minors, and that's Justin Foscue. He's come off a really good year in AAA. For me, this is the time to see what you have in Justin Foscue. If you're not going to move him, and the Rangers have not moved him yet. Whereas with Wyatt Langford, I don't think there's really a lot of harm unless you clearly think that he is the best option. I don't think there's a lot of harm in letting him get some more time in AAA. And the other thing that you can't quantify, guys, and I know some people are going to roll their eyes, but if you talk to anyone who's a part of the decision-making process with this, the difficulty for a player who has never DH'd to DH, because the only way you can contribute is when you hit. You don't have the ability to feel like you're contributing in the field. Like with Evan Carter last year, we talked about this. When he got called up, obviously he hit really well from the start, but we didn't know that. But what we did know was, at minimum, he would help this team defensively. And mentally, that helps a young player. It's not easy to DH, especially when you've never done it. And if that's what Wyatt Langford's workload is going to look like right from the start, I wonder if it's just better to have him in AAA and to have a hot month, and then for him to basically bust the door down to come up, while you can also see what Justin Foscue has, because he's also earned it too.
Looking forward to all the updates. We've run out of time, but more ball busting later in the week. Thank you, Sam, man.
See you guys.